My brother's wife would mock me because I'm not able to have a baby. Well, I think that she's going to learn the true definition of karma because what I find out is something devastating and it's going to change her life forever. My brother and his wife have been trying to push me out of the family home by making jokes about my infertility. I'm not sure what to do. For some backstory, I always knew there was something off about me. Mostly because I never got a period on time, or for months when I went through puberty, I still did not have a regular cycle. My mother was concerned about it, then I was, and just took me to some doctor to figure out what's going on. One said it's no big deal and that some people are late bloomers. Another said it's too early to tell exactly what's going on. It did not bother me much because everything I'd heard about periods pointed to them being awful. 3 years ago, I met a guy at a bar. While I was out for drinks with my coworkers, he was cute, charming even. We exchanged numbers and got to talking. We dated for 2 years before he proposed, and we moved in together. It was the happiest day of my life. Not long after that, we eloped, and neither of us wanted to sink money into a big elaborate ceremony, and we decided we would save up for a house instead. We also wanted to try for kids right away, and this was where things took a turn. After a year of no results, we decided to go to a fertility clinic. All of my husband's tests came back clean. Mine did not. I was referred to a specialist who told me I had PCOD and would have to go through extensive treatment before I could conceive. Both my husband and I were devastated by the news. Well, I'd say him more than so me. He starts asking the doctor a bunch of questions, mainly how long the treatment would take. She said it depends because everybody's different, but I wouldn't be able to conceive anytime soon. My husband was very quiet in the days that followed. I figured he just needed some time to process, so I left him alone. But inside I was worried he would want a divorce. He said so many times when we were dating how badly he wanted to be a father, and I wasn't sure if he was willing to wait. My fears were validated a week later when he presented me with the papers. I did not fight it. Luckily, we only had an apartment together, so we just broke the lease and went our separate ways. I'd only told my mom the news of my diagnosis and the divorce, but apparently she's also told my brother. She'd never been good at keeping secrets. I overheard my brother and his girlfriend talking about it, and they said that he dumped me because I can't have kids. No man wants a woman who can't get pregnant. Well, I ignored their jabs and went about my life as usual. I was only staying with my mom temporarily anyways, and I was still reeling from my failed marriage, and I just did not want to be on my own for a little bit. Had I known I wasn't going to have to put up with my brother and his woman, I would have looked for a place to stay right away, so a few months after that, my brother's girlfriend learned that she was pregnant. Her family was pressuring her and my brother to go ahead and get married because even though they lived out of state, they were super conservative and did not believe in having kids out of wedlock. That meant my brother basically had to blow all his savings on a wedding because Ava did not have a job and no proper education to talk about. They like to keep their women dumb where she's from. They ended up rushing the wedding, so it was small. They didn't even have a honeymoon, but said that they'd figured it out once they were more stable. Ava's parents flew in for the wedding. It was a small, delicate, cute wedding, I guess. I tried to stay out of the way as much as possible and was busy with work anyways. I just showed up when and where I was asked and made myself scarce where I wasn't. The craziness did not end there, though. After the wedding, they had to prepare for the baby. This is where things started to get annoying. They kept asking me when I was going to move out because they needed my room for the baby. I said when I moved out, I was going to stay a year to get my head in the right place, and they were supposed to be looking for a house for themselves anyway, so I don't know why they're bothering me. Also, wouldn't they want their newborn to be in the same room as them? I didn't understand the logic. No. As they got closer and closer to the due date, their nagging kept getting worse, and I spoke to my mom about it, reminding her of my original plan to stay for a year, which she agreed to. It's her house, not theirs, and begged her to tell them to back off. She must have talked to them because the next day they were giving me these dirty looks. Anyways, later they were planning the baby shower. It was going to be more of a small dinner at my mom's place because they couldn't really afford anything else. I should mention that my brother was the only breadwinner in the household before I moved back in. My mom was retired and her pension was just enough to cover bills and expenses for her alone. My moving in relieved a lot of financial burden that they were both facing, but I've now learned that my brother did not know that and thought Mom and I were footing the bill for everything. When I moved in, I took over the electric and water bill, so he and my mom only had to worry about the cable and gas. My mom said it's fine. It was the first time she was able to put any money into her savings, you know. But anyways, on the day of the baby shower, the yard was crowded with people. Apparently, my idiot brother and his wife invited way more people than they said they were going to, and a lot of people ended up having to stand because of it. I stayed inside for most of it just because it's so crowded, but I did go out when they were opening the gifts. When my sister-in-law got to talking about it and thanking everybody for coming, she took a very obvious jab at me. She talked about how being a mother was the most special, rewarding thing a woman could do. And something like, let me quote you this. "I hope this day wasn't too hard for those of us who can't be mothers. Oh, sorry, OP, I know this must be hard for you." But she said it in the most condescending tone. Everybody had a little laugh at my expense. When it quieted down, I yelled, and I mean it. "At least I wasn't forced into a shotgun wedding with a broke loser who can't afford to move out of his mommy's house, and you, who could barely do a menial job." Well, I'd say the laughs at my jokes were even louder. Well, she actually started to cry. I didn't care. My mom and also her parents got mad with me because, well, she's pregnant, and I guess it's bad for her to get upset. Since then, my brother and Ava have slowly become even more hostile towards me. They keep making these jabs regarding my infertility, saying I would not know anything about kids. Well, neither would they, since this is literally their first one. With how irresponsible my brother has always been and how dim-witted his wife is, I don't expect them to be a very good parent anyways. They don't know the gender of their kid, but bought and asked for a bunch of boy stuff because, I quote you their exact words, "It's obvious she's having a boy from the shape of her belly." That's what her parents told them, and they ate that nonsense up. I've never heard that garbage in my life. It seems her whole family is adrift, and they've been lugging stuff in and out of their room, trying to make room for the baby's crib and complaining the whole time because there's not enough space. The only reason there's not enough space is because every few months, Ava picks up a new hobby. First it was diamond painting, then it was crochet, then it was sewing. That's just in time. I've been living with them and my mom, and there's boxes and boxes of crap she hasn't touched in months, taking up the space in their room. My brother has to foot the bill for all her shenanigans, by the way. He doesn't know how to say no to her, even if he wrecks his wallet. That's the real reason they wanted my room, so they could chuck all their crap into it and probably pile it to the roof. My mom's getting nervous because with one more mouth to feed, the household expenses are going to go up, and I'm going to be leaving about a month after the baby's born. We all know how expensive babies are. On top of the medical bills for the birth, my brother will have to be picking up extra shifts, and Mom will likely be taking over the household expenses again. I hear my brother and Ava fighting about it sometimes. She keeps seeing things that she wants to buy, and he keeps telling her that they're stretched thin. The only time they present a united front is when it's time to gang up on little old me. They're still nagging about my room, making jabs about my infertility, and I'd say my dilemma is, should I move out early and spare myself from their bullying? I've already only had a few apartments here on my radar that are well within my budget, and I'd say the only reason I'm hesitant is because I don't want my brother and Ava to feel like they've won and successfully bullied me out of the house. So, I guess this is the part where I ask you guys for a bit of advice. Update number 1. So, it's been some months and a lot's happened since I last posted. I'll tease you by saying I no longer live with my mom, brother, and his ditzy wife, but more on how when we get to that point later. First off, Ava gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby. Remember in my first post I said they bought a bunch of boy stuff because her parents brainwashed her into thinking it was a boy? Well, they were wrong. It's a girl. A girl will be wearing a lot of blue clothing, riding a blue car seat, and sitting in a blue Paw Patrol stroller because her parents are idiots. Ava's parents came by and started saying that they were so sure because that's how her mom's belly looked when she was pregnant with her son. But, and I quote, I guess you can never be sure about children. They had a huge fight because Ava was accusing them of tricking her into buying boy stuff. Whatever. I was turning them out just for most of the parts, and on top of that, the hospital bill, guys, let me go ahead and tell you, sky high, just like everybody said it would be. Now, they're looking at medical debt, because their insurance covered very little of it, and my brother has to pick up extra shifts at work to afford to pay it off and keep up with the bills. So, Ava's doing the majority of the parenting on her own. My mom's been helping somewhat, but she has obligations and a life of her own. So, about a month before I was due to move out, I start packing. One day, Ava came into my room and asked if she could talk. Well, I was skeptical, but decided to hear her out. She asked if sometimes after work and on the weekends if I could babysit her kid. And her, so she needs a little break. She said that she thought it would be beneficial for me since I can't have kids of my own, and I'd be able to know what it feels like to be a mother. Burn! I mocked her a little bit and said I thought being a mother was the best thing ever, and here she was trying to pass the kid to me. She should always just want to spend every waking moment with her child, since I quote, being a mother is so great. I'd hate to take that opportunity away from her. Also, I'm a working woman, and after work, I want to take time to relax, unwind, not babysit. I reminded her that she does nothing all day long. She doesn't cook, she doesn't clean. Mom takes care of that, and literally all she has to do is watch the kid. Well, at this point, her face gets really red. She calls me selfish before storming out of her and my brother's room. When my brother got home that night, he tried to lay into me about what I said, and I told him I didn't choose to have a child while I was broke. They need to figure it out and stop trying to make it everyone else's problem, especially mine. Why would I bother to help them at all after the way that they treated me? Since I moved out, things have only gotten worse for them. Since I'm no longer helping cover the bill, my brother is stretched even thinner. My mom must have broken it to them that I was paying the 2 most expensive bills, and now that I'm gone, they need to take part at least in one of them, because she can't afford it on her own pension. I'm setting into my new place, far away from them and their issues, and I've decided to go into close contact with my brother and his wife. Update number 2. Hey guys, I know it's been a while. It's been a year since I've been around. I've been kind of minding my own business. I only hear about my brother and his wife through my mom. They moved into their place because they thought mom was overcharging them for the bills, and they've also gotten into the habit of dropping their kid off at her place with no notice and disappearing into the night for hours upon end. I told her to stop pretending not to be home or something, darken the windows, draw the curtains, lock up the doors. She said she's done that a few times, but they blow up her phone and berate her into babysitting just for an hour or 2. It's not my problem, though. If she can't stand up for herself, that's on her. But that's even the best part, right? They had a birthday party for my niece at my mom's house last week, and I was invited. Again, they invited way too many people, and extremely crowded. On the invite they emailed to me, it said gifts were mandatory and monetary gifts were preferred. Even Ava's family flew in for it. So, I spent the majority of my time inside, but when I was out back amongst the crowd, I noticed Ava kept passing the kid off to someone else every second, so she and her friends could gossip and drink wine. Eventually, they came inside talking loud and cackling. I asked Ava where her kid was, and she said the child was with my brother. So I went back outside because I didn't want to be around them, but the kid was not with my bro. When I asked him where the kid was, he said with her mom, which I already knew wasn't true. I found my mom and asked her, and she said that she gave the kid to Ava an hour ago because she had to handle the food. So no one knows where the kid's at? I start snooping around, asking the other kids at the party, and her last known location was at the cake table. So I look around, all around the table, but didn't see her. It wasn't until I looked underneath the table that I found her, and she was unresponsive. There was chocolate drooling out of her face, so I yanked her from under there and called over to one of my mom's friends who's a firefighter. Everybody starts to panic, and what's sad about this is neither of her parents were around. Her mom was in the house drinking with her friends, and her dad was out front doing God knows what. My mom's friend basically had to exasperate all the kinds of crap out of the kid's mouth. She'd gotten into the candy bowl, stuffed an unwrapped chocolate down her throat. It took a long time before he got her to properly breathe again. After he did, he starts yelling at my brother and his wife, calling them terrible, irresponsible parents. He said if I'd found the kid a minute later, she would have been dead. They started making a bunch of excuses, but he wasn't hearing it. They were the parents. They were supposed to watch her or make sure that somebody was. Needless to say, the party ended abruptly after that. My mom's friend told them that they should take my niece to the hospital to get her checked out, but I'm not even sure if they did. I haven't heard anything since, and, well, I guess that's all for now, guys. Update number 3. I did not think things could get worse, but good lord, do I have a story for you today. So, you'd think the near-death experience at the party would knock some sense into my brother and his wife, right? Wrong. So, the other day, I get a call from my mom asking me to go by her house to see if my brother and Ava were there. Apparently, when she wasn't home and they wanted her to babysit, they'd sit out on her stoop until she gets back, but she was away on a cruise. She wouldn't be back for a while. She told them this, but it seemed that they'd forgotten because they were blowing up her phone anyways. So I swing by there and I see no sign of them. I told my mom and she asked me to see if they were home. When I get to their house, which was close to mom, I immediately heard crying from the inside, so I bang on the door. Nobody answered. I bang on the windows. Nobody answered. I tried calling both Ava and my brother and told my mom so that she could call them too, and after 2 to 3 minutes of no answer, I tried to force my way in, but I was not strong enough to get to the doors and get past the windows, and my mom told me to call the police and stay on the line with her, so I dialed and told them what was happening. I sat out front listening to the kids scream their lungs out until the police got there. They forced their way into the house and searched the rooms. The child was left alone in her cradle. She was red from screaming for hours, and her diaper was overflowing with poo. The police started asking me questions, if I knew that the people lived here and who they were, and if I knew where they went and when they'd be back, and whom I was on the phone, and, well, I told them everything. One of the female officers went to refill my niece's bottle, and she came back and asked the other officers to smell it. There's alcohol in the bottle. While we were standing around in the living room, somebody came up to the house, a strange guy, and said he lived there. He showed the police his ID, and sure enough, the house was his address. He said he was my brother and Ava's roommate. He's a truck driver, so he's not home often, and just came back from a long trip. He didn't seem happy that the police were in his house, or they'd kick the door down of his room. While they were talking to him, my mom finally got in contact with Ava and told her to get home right away. The police are at her door. When she and my brother pulled up, CPS, Child Protective Services, were already there, and they'd called an ambulance to take my niece to the hospital to have her fully checked out. So, the police start immediately questioning them. Ava breaks down crying and said that they were only planning to be out for a little while, and she usually napped for a few hours. They said that they put a little bit of whiskey in her milk to help with her teething because her gums were swollen and sore. I honestly could not believe what I was hearing. At this point, it was getting late into the evening and I had work to do. Since they did not need me anymore, I excused myself and I went home. I'm writing this the next morning and I still don't know what's happened. Well, and my mom's coming in tomorrow and I guess I will find out then. Final updates. Well, guys, I picked up my mom from the airport and she told me everything. CPS took my niece away and the police arrested my brother and his wife on child neglect charges. Apparently, my niece could not go to my mom because Ava asked if my mom could take her in and the police don't trust her or my brother's judgment. Also, my mom was on pension and did not have the means to sustain herself and Ava's kid. They also tried to contact me to ask me, but I don't have the time to take in a kid right now. I work full time. I can't just quit my job. On top of that, daycare in our area is insanely expensive, and certainly out of my budget. So now the kid is in a child care facility somewhere in town until they can find a proper foster home. Ava's parents are trying to get to her, but I don't know how that's going to work. My mom also told me the whiskey in the bottle or the gums or whatever Ava talked about, she picked it up from her mother. My mom told her multiple times not to do it because it's a myth and actually doesn't do anything. There's medication specifically for teething. My brother and Ava are now looking for a place to stay because their roommate told them they have 2 months to get the heck out of here. They've been begging my mom to let them come back and live with her, but she's pretty mad with them after what they've done. They can't leave the state because of their impending trial, and they don't have enough money to rent a motel or anything. A few other family members have tried to guilt trip my mom into taking them inside, saying that they already lost their child, we should at least give them a place to stay until their trial date. I told them if they were so concerned with it, they should take my brother and his wife in. But I would not be dealing with them after how they treated me and put their own child in jeopardy like that. I want absolutely nothing to do with them anymore. Also, by the way, treatment for PCOD is going well and I've started having somewhat regular periods, but if conceiving in the future still doesn't work out, I would consider adopting a baby. Thank you guys for reading. The comment section was going crazy about the alcohol in the bottle, and I want to know what you guys think about that. And also, we do know what happened to OP, and CPS got involved in this story, guys. Today's story was crazy. Let me know if you've ever been in a situation that OP found in, and you know what? You had to do something to interfere because a baby was at risk of being harmed. Drop it down below in the comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stories, and if you do want more daily videos, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.